Welcome to.
Bean stuff. A more or a.
We are doing this podcast via Zoom.
That's a couple of serviettes.
Appreciating your car and appreciating coffee. What do you mean by that?
If we understand some of the methods that we're going to use this morning, we're going to enjoy our coffee a lot more.
What is your definition of body and what's your definition of clarity? Welcome to.
Bean stuff.
Welcome to today's episode. Today we're talking about body versus clarity. However, to address, a little difference in our podcast today, what we're doing is we are doing this podcast via Zoom. So, Dad, are we? We're not in the same room.
We are not in the same room. We're not even in the same town.
Because we're talking about flavor and all these things to do with clarity and body. You're going to be the only one tasting this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Reed. That's why you have a cup of coffee there and I have a cup of water, because I'm going to taste coffee and enjoy that, and it's going to be good.
Well, and for anyone who's not watching via video, currently, Dad is sitting there with a French press, a Frank 1, and a Chemex.
And I say it's a bit not quite as accurate as I'd be if I was at our roastery or a coffee shop, because it's all homemade stuff here. My fun one is the Chemex. If you know anything about Chemex, you'll know, you look at this and say, just a moment, that's not really a Chemex filter. And you'd be right. That's a couple of serviettes inside my cone. Hopefully that works, but it's all sort of homemade, but we'll do our best.
We were going through our notes a little earlier today, and one of the first things in our notes that kind of stuck out to me was probably the first sentence. But Dad, what did you say? You talked about appreciating your car and appreciating coffee. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I only thought of that this morning, but I think perhaps you've taught me a bit about that in terms of car. And if you understand an engine of a car and what goes in to make the engine purr and work beautifully, you're going to enjoy your ride in your car much more. And it's very similar to this morning of our whole coffee, what we're doing here. If we understand some of the methods that we're going to use this morning, we're going to enjoy our coffee a lot more. And to be specific, I'm looking in the engine and be looking at the oil, which I'm alluding to is the same as the coffee bean. And that's really important. Get a good oil, get a good bean. You're already 50% of the way there.
Yeah.
And then we're going to bring it down to okay, what about the filter? That the oil goes through the filter, then into the engine. What happens with our coffee as it goes in, as the water goes in, and then it goes through the filter? And we've got 3 different filters this morning.
Yeah.
And that filter is going to make a huge difference to actually the outcome of the oil itself. In oil, you've got Fram, Bosch, you've got all sorts of all different types of filter. Here we've got our filters is the French press, Frank 1, and the Chemex.
And just so that we're all on the same page here, what is your definition of body and what's your definition of clarity?
It's a good question. At the body is the thickness, the viscosity of your product. As you sip the coffee, you sip it and it's got this thickness, this creaminess.
Like milk and water, the difference between those two.
Exactly. Milk very thick, water very thin. And so body is that thickness. How thick is it? And on the other side, we're looking at this morning clarity, which is sort of a word out there used. And it's really to do with the flavor.
Is it a word?
Well, it is a word. Yes, it is a word. Sorry to tell you that. But it's the clarity of flavor, how clear the flavor is. How much does the flavor come through? And we're going to find with all this body and clarity, it's really versus. It's body versus clarity, because you can get close to both, but typically you're going to either have body or you're going to have clarity. And I would say right from the outset, that is a preference. That's just what you prefer. It's not one better than the other. It's just, and my conclusion, if I don't say it at the end, is just mix it all up and try different things. Try an espresso, try an AeroPress, and you'll find, oh, I like this more than that. But that doesn't mean I'm not ever going to have the other one.
Well, and kind of like you're saying, I guess, to get a little on the techie side of it, body, I think what was it in the notes you were putting, that it's the presence of dissolved solids, correct?
Correct. Yep. Microparticles that all coffee has when you brew the coffee, but the filter as the word says, filters out these micro particulates, the dissolved solids,
Right.
what's dissolved, how much gets through actually into your coffee, or in the end into your cup here, what actually you taste.
And I know that in a previous episode, I can't remember which one, in a couple of them though, I think we talked about how this is kind of a sidetrack here, but you brew your coffee, and especially French press. Obviously, if you leave it in the French press, it's still brewing with all the grounds below.
Yes.
But other coffees, there's going to be some little particulates that come through that are still changing the flavor as it's brewing, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
so body is the inclusion of those particulates.
Correct. That'd be probably the way to look at it. And you've got different methods. You've got immersion. You've got different methods that you use in this, and that all has impact onto your final flavor in your cup. And as we're saying, body and clarity.
So if you were going to get technical on the clarity, what would clarity be?
Clarity. Let me just look what I wrote down here. But well, it's I can say it's almost the opposite of body in terms. It's the lack. That's probably the key word here. It's the lack of those dissolved solids.
Interesting.
It's the lack of those particulates that end up in your cup. So
And
there's not as many.
gotcha. And,
We
and
call
and you were talking about like physical particulates, physical things that you would see in your coffee, maybe not with your naked eye, but that would add up to a darker cup. If you look through it, it's harder to see light through it, that kind of a thing.
That is correct, and you will see it. You don't need a microscope to do this. You'll
That's
see it,
good.
and that's why I've got these cups in front of us so we can do a little experiment and see the difference. We will taste the difference too. Well, sorry, I will taste the
I was
difference.
gonna say mine tastes good, but it's only one. So what's the result of having a cup that's high clarity?
The result of a cup with high clarity, basically, you're going to be able to distinguish flavors more easily. It's going to be very obvious that this is a lemon notes coming through here, or chocolate notes, whatever it may be. The clarity of the flavor, you're going to notice that.
Very distinguished flavor profile
Yes.
of coffee.
We should go back to the body, and I move over here to the French press. It muddies. That's probably a word, I don't know, just made that up. But muddies the whole flavor, and you're not able to pick it out and be as specific in the flavor. It's there. You will notice it, but it's not as clear as if you're doing a chemex in terms of clarity.
Okay, yeah. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but what controls? We've talked about the filter.
Yes.
Other than the filter, what controls potentially the body or the clarity of a coffee?
Yeah. Again, a good question. And the three biggies there will be the bean that you choose, and we all mainly say that on most episodes is the quality of your bean.
And is that quality of bean, but also the country of origin for that bean, or just the?
Yeah, it's going to be the country of origin as well. You're correct. And some countries tend towards clarity, and some tend towards body.
What would be an example of like two coffees that might be kind of not polar opposite, but like the two sides?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using this morning. I'm going to use some Ethiopian Sidamo. And so Ethiopia has a lot of clarity going with it. If you want some body coffees, you're looking more Asia, Indonesia, and that has a much more body. But then there's a second player. There's the farm, the choosing of the beans. There's their process, of course, as well. And we've looked at that of washed versus unwashed or natural.
And it's interesting because we do have another episode on that, and there's so much that goes into washed versus natural. Like, yeah. And I think like we've talked about it since the beginning of time or the beginning of this podcast. But again, it's just amazing, the coffee that's sitting in front of you, the coffee in my cup, that it got here.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And particularly in today's climate with the coronavirus and things, that's becoming highlighted how difficult that is. I mean, there's lots of players in that one. The other one, the second one I was going to say.
You mean the third?
Oh, okay, let's go for the third. The third one would be the roaster. That's my job. And we call them profiles, and we can go lighter, we can go darker, shorter, longer. That has an impact on clarity and body. Typically, and this is just typically very general, that the darker you go, the more body you're going to get. Partly you get more soluble, you get more oils coming through in the roast compared to if you go lighter, you tend to stop the oils being so much. coming out. So that's another player.
Mm.
We're looking at the third player this morning. That's the barista, or you or me, when we make our coffee,
Right.
when we wake up.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different pieces and parts to that. And we've got an image that we'll put up on the screen for anyone who's watching, but it kind of is it's a graph basically from most body and clarity to least body, least clarity, or sorry, most body, least clarity on one side, and then the least body, most clarity on the other side. And just to point out kind of the highlights, so the most body, least clarity would be on this chart is French press.
Yes.
Kind of right in the middle is about a cold brew.
Yep.
And right on the other end is a siphon, or
Mm-hmm.
Chemex is also close by on that one.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we've got a kind of a good spread here, but we'll put that one up so everyone can kind of take a look at that as well. But I guess it might be time to start kind of testing some of our methods here.
Okay, and as I'm at home and I'm just using all my manual stuff that
You got quite the kit there.
You're right. As I got it, I thought, oh man, I do have quite a few things here, which is great. I'm just boiling the water right now because we want boiling water just off the boil.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start with the French press. That usually takes the longest. It's about 4 minutes. I'm going to go for a little timer here to see that.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to move over to the other end to the Chemex, and hopefully that works with these napkins here. And then I'm going to move to the middle because this only takes 30 seconds on the Frank 1, which was a Kickstarter that you gave me for a birthday one year. Thank you very much, Reed.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the Frank 1, definitely look it up online. It's an interesting product. It takes about 30 seconds. It makes, how many cups would you say that makes?
Oh,
cup
one
and a half. Yeah,
cup and a half. One.
Yeah, but it takes 30 seconds. It's vacuum. It's very interesting. It's definitely one of a kind.
Yep. And as I said, you're gonna, on certain days you're gonna like a French press. The other days you're gonna like a Chemex or a cone.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I used one of Frank 1 yesterday because I've been home for 2 weeks self-isolating. And Frank 1 was like a good in-between sort of thing when I was not sure if I wanted clarity or I wanted body.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too. I think for me, it's different times of the day feel like I want different types of clarity and body.
Okay, I'm going to start my timer, and here's the French press. I'm just going to put it all in. Usually I stop and do all sorts of wonderful things, but I'm just going to, and I may need to go and boil some more water. And then I'm over here, and I'm just going to turn the scale on here. I have a scale that tells me the weight and time. That's nice. And I'm just going to, hopefully I have enough water here. I'm going to try. And here I go. I'm just going to let it bloom first, and we'll see what this makeshift Chemex does.
Hopefully it doesn't disintegrate or something.
I hope it actually, it is dripping through. That's good. But what's probably going to happen with these napkins is it's going to get so soft, it's just going to break and it'll just start going through. We'll see.
We'll see. It'll be a good experiment, a good test.
Oh, we've got the timer there. I'm now pushing the French press down.
Okay, so yeah, it'll be interesting. So we've got the French press going.
And even when I use the grinder, it's hard using one grinder for 3 very different.
And that's the thing too, right? The different methods are going to take different types of grinders. So that's going to be another aspect of that.
Here's the French press. It's boiling. I'm just going to pour the French press right now. Already, I can see that word I used before, muddied. It's very much that way in these 2 cups.
Mm-hmm.
That suggests to me already this one's got more body. There's more particles come through the filter, and that's added to the taste and the thickness of the coffee that some will like, and some will say, no, I don't like it being not so clean. I'd rather go for clean here. And I'm going to take this one off somehow. I'm just going to make a mess on the table.
Oh, risky.
Risky. It's all right. It's what you do for coffee.
Napkins and messes. I think you can clean it up with the napkins.
Yeah, they're already soaked. So, and now I'm going to pour some water in here. And I can tell this is actually working, Reed. This looks like almost water in terms of consistency. It's very thin looking, and it's
through it much more.
Very clear. I don't know if you can even see that. I'll bring those a bit closer in a moment. And I'm going to give them a little time to settle. So in these white cups here, you're going to see if there's any particles, you'll see them at the bottom of the cup.
Yeah.
And if there's what's going on in the glass that you can see through, you'll see, is it cloudy or is it not cloudy? This is the Frank 1. and I'm going to pour it in. There's got a little, this is like a medium to fine grind. I mean, you can play with that. Frank 1, just getting everything up to the, there's a little 1, 2, 3. I'm going to the second level. Here we go.
And then you said this takes about 30 seconds.
Yep. Set the timer, waiting 30 seconds, and then this will be done. You'll hear it. It's got a little pump in here that when I push this button in the middle here, it pulls the coffee through. And because it's sealed, it has a suction there, it has pressure, and that's sort of the whole extraction process going there in the Frank 1.
Interesting.
Guess what? I've only got 10 seconds. That's how quick it is for this.
It's very quick.
And there's 30 seconds there now, stopping that, and I'm going to push the button.
We can just hear it, yeah.
Yep, and it's filling up the carafe below there.
Is it easy to clean a Frank 1?
Yeah, not bad at all. You just have, it's got a little yellow tab on the bottom that you put a little USB into the, it's a micro USB, you probably know that. And that charges it for up to 150, 200 times doing this.
Wow.
So you can take it to your office and you just, it'll keep going. You can plug it into your computer to power it up again for another 200 drinks.
Wow.
Grounds are too fine, and therefore the water's not getting through. It's blocked up on the filter at the bottom of the Frank 1.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to the Frank 1 another day.
That's all right. You can take our word from it that when we've done this, it's been in the middle, and that's why I say it's good. What we're going to see is the
two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Two opposites. So just imagine the Frank 1 in between there. Take our word for that. Here's the French press, and I actually will bring it close up to the camera because it's so obvious.
Yeah, you can even see from our side. The one that's on the French press, I feel like I can see through the French press one more.
Oh, do you? Well, no, it's very muddied on the French. That's this one here. It's very muddied. I can't see through. It's just like cloudy. Whereas this one's just black like water tea. It's just very clear. And I can see it. I'm going to taste them to give you, and I'm going to take the, whichever one. I'm going to take the Chemex. Nice. Not the best I've ever done with my new unimproved method. But it does taste, this is Ethiopian. Typically you will get lemon, orange, you'll get all sorts of notes, floral coming through here. I do get that. Whereas this one, I get that as well with this. It's definitely thicker. And with this home method that I've used, actually the French presses come through even, I can filter it with the viscosity in the body, and I can taste good flavors there as well. Whereas this one, it's just, no, the flavors are there. It's just missing the body. And that's the whole point of this experiment, showing you that with a Chemex style, you're going to find you're going to be able to distinguish flavors quickly, and it's very light though. It's like if you've ever used, French press is quite common out there.
Yeah.
You get used to that body, and you forget that if you go to a different method, you're going to start missing the body, and you're going to go, what's different in this cup?
Right. No, exactly. And then what does it look like in the white cups in front there?
The white cups in front here, you definitely, I wish I could show you, it's starting to settle. I probably put a bit too much coffee in there. And I think I've got a picture I can show you later when I'm sort of practicing this. But definitely in this one here, I'm seeing more of the ground in the bottom of the cup. This one here, a lot less. It's a little bit in there because I've used serviettes like this.
Right.
And therefore what's happened, it hasn't pulled out as many particulates as a normal Chemex would do. But that's the experiment. That gives you an idea, and I can taste the difference. I'm just going to tell you that you can trust me on that.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what our aim was, to see what's the difference if you use different filters, like an oil, to what happens to the engine. And and in that analogy, both engines are going to run really well. It depends if you like a more or a sort of style. I just made that up. I don't know.
I don't know if that's scientific, but I like it.
Thank you.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think your advice from near the beginning is just mix it up. There's not necessarily a right or a
Exactly.
wrong, but just do whatever you think is going to be the flavor you desire, and try things out, experiment. You can kind of go from there.
Yeah, I mean, another thing, player, we haven't done here is the espresso and how that filters, and I think it's going to be even cleaner. It'll be interesting. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening to our first virtual episode. We had fun getting set up and making this one. So we look forward to doing more of these. And thanks for listening. Check us out at beanstuff.com.